And this is where it all starts. Good morning to you. OTB AM, Friday morning. Adrian here, Owen there, and Colm there. Morning, lads.
How are you, Adrian?
How are you, lads?
How's it going?
Very well.
Yeah, jeez, that was a bit
How
of
are you,
slow
Colm?
out of the blocks.
I'll go first.
I was waiting for Owen
Man's
because
having a drink. He sat there for like 10 minutes just fluting about doing nothing.
no, I was actually waiting for Owen to go first this week because last week you gave me the floor. I was just being generous to Owen because no one ever asks Owen how he is. Everyone just presumes Owen's always great, always on form, always ready to go. We never really ask you how you are.
They would be right, wouldn't they?
Okay, on.
Yeah, I'm never not on form.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks.
There's so much going on. There's so much to get through. There's lots of stuff that, like, any of it, we kind of leaded the show stuff this morning, but we do need to lead off with events in Istanbul, and a lot of the photographs, the newspapers have sort of picked up on this in various ways, and I don't really want to sort of, I know that people are kind of a little bit annoyed about the fact that it wasn't on the TV, and that's probably right, but I think sometimes we're guilty of having those conversations at the expense of actually talking about the stuff itself. So we'll do that in a second, and we are hoping at some point, possibly this morning, and then possibly a bit later on, that we might actually have one of the boxers on the line. So as soon as they're ready, we'll be ready for them, and we'll see what happens at that front. Some of the papers have really missed the boat, having said all that about not talking about the media. The Sun being one of them. It's not on the front page, and it's sort of tucked away there a little bit on the top page of that, and then just the other extreme of it is the Irish Independent. Fair play to you this morning on the front page, if I can get that in shot there. Brilliant scenes from the ring yesterday, and it was quite the achievement from Team Ireland at the World Championships. It was 3 gold medals that we'd ever won at this level prior to that, in the shape of Kelly Harrington and Katie Taylor on the women's side, and Michael Conlon then on the men's side, and Amy Broadhurst and Lisa O'Rourke. Congratulations to both of you this morning. Incredible achievements, really. As I said, only 3 others before them, and loads of firsts as well. First time to win 2 golds at 1 championships. First time that boxers went into the ring for finals after each other. Only the 4th and 5th ever, and also the comprehensiveness of the wins. Both fighters, it should be acknowledged as well, brought through by Bernard Dunn in advance of the Olympic training camp last year, and up to this level at least. Amy Broadhurst has been on the scene for quite some time, and Lisa much less so, but just incredible stuff. Brilliant scenes, lovely photographs, a real feel-good boxing story, which, like, Irish boxing has never been on such a pedestal.
No, like, I know, Gavin Casey was on the show last night, and he had in this piece as well that they'll take home €86,000 in prize money, and then on top of that, obviously, you have the base level of Sport Ireland funding, which is guaranteed now because they've medalled at a major championships, €40,000 in funding. Those sorts of things are significant, and they're significant on a number of fronts. They're significant, obviously, for their day-to-day life, and also for keeping them in the system, and the lights of professional boxing, which have been so brilliantly illuminated over the last little while, might become a little less attractive, and there might be more opportunities for Ireland to win medals over the course of the next few Olympic Games as a result of that success yesterday as well. Obviously, the question around who goes to Paris, what weight divisions people will be fighting at, is actually a really complicated question, and we're unsure what knock-on impact this will have in Paris. So this is about yesterday and what yesterday represents, and the fact that they've gone from 3 to 5 in the space of, what was it, half an hour of action yesterday? An hour of action yesterday. It goes down as one of the greatest 45 minutes or whatever it was in the history of Irish boxing. So, and it's just an absolutely phenomenal week, actually. And when you kind of chart back through some of the career paths of these fighters, I'd completely forgotten about the robbery of in New Delhi a few years ago of Amy Broadhurst, and the judging decision to award, when her opponent hit the deck, to award that as a slip, and even the local Indian media giving out about it at the time. That was like a real setback in the career. And, like, I mean, O'Rourke has kind of been a bolt from the blue. Certainly from my perspective, I'm sure boxing writers have been well aware of what she was going to do coming into this championship.
She's so young. She's only just turned 20 as well, so she could be around for a while. And Broadhurst's story is so interesting in the Kelly Harrington, the competitiveness obviously between the two of them, and she's had to step up a little bit in weight to try and make this happen for her. So like, unlikely when you're behind a boxer of that quality that you're going to get those opportunities. So amazing stuff. And as I said, we will hope at some point today, if Colm gets the finger out and puts a bit of pressure on, that we'll get the 2 fighters on a little bit later on.
Can't promise anything, but I'll try.
It's like, it is it's amazing, just like when you kind of like look through these stories, kind of the importance of Katie Taylor in all of this, and without trying to hark back to a different fighter, when these two fighters are the ones in the spotlight, just interesting to see that like Broadhurst was in the Connecticut camp with Taylor before the Amanda Serrano fight, because obviously Taylor's camp would have wanted a southpaw fighter to come in and actually fight Taylor beforehand, and that's why Broadhurst was brought in, like, to get that experience. And of course, obviously after 2012, there is this very visible role model, this icon for these boxers as well that exists, and they've actually learned from within and learned from the system that has produced so much success over the last little while. So yes, there is a lot of issues with Irish boxing, but I think yesterday is a day that probably illuminates some of the things that have been done very, very right.
Yeah, they're totally badly served by the administrative level, obviously, and as you say, like, such a shadow cast over the future of the sport at all in this country. If it's going to be absent from the Olympics, they'll struggle to keep it afloat. So we'll see how that pans out over the next while. If you have any words of congratulations, comments, anything like that about our two brilliant world champions, do lash them into us and we'll bring them to our audience. One of the first comments we've had in this morning, Mark Hogan, Hon Offaly is a good way to get the...
Mark's there every day saying that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a regular. Good man, Mark.
Gav Sale says, happy to see the crappy quizzes back this week. So
it is.
I need to look forward to on that front later on. Myself versus Tommy versus Arthur.
And can I just say, an exciting new round awaits.
Oh, Jesus. How
many about that
weeks can we have an
I thought you were excited about this. We discussed how excited you're going to be about this.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Absolute shambles. But it is all up for grabs, I think it's fair enough to say, without casting too much aspersions on the two lads. I think, I nearly feel confident about it. Big scenes in the football last night, including Everton securing their position in the Premier League. And, I was watching Aston Villa Burnley, as I'm sure probably lots of other people were as well last night.
So nice.
Frustratingly, not realising actually that the game was on Premier Sports. But there we go. And also, by the way, I didn't really bother because I saw they were 2-0 down and I thought, well, sure, that's that. It's all gone to the final day and they could well be screwed the way things are going. But they've obviously turned it around. And, like, Lampard, really, I feel that he never sort of gets the credit he deserves, in the sense that, like, when they're going badly, well, Lampard has put them in this position. It's not really, it's up to him to get them out of it. And then when they're going well, like last night, there's a lot of credit for the players. I just felt that, like, credit where it's due. I do think, obviously, like, even looking at the scenes last night, that I think there's a fairly full overhaul needed in that club. Like, I'm assuming that's in the back of fans' minds last night when they're on the pitch celebrating that thing, that, like, it's a big relief moment. But actually the reality is there's so much work needed to be done there.
Well, someone was saying there this morning, I think it was myself and Owen chatting, that it's the worst Everton squad that you can remember. Like, I think, like, it is a talented squad. Like, if you're having the likes of Donny van de Beek, Dele Alli and Alan on the bench in a do or die match, you're doing something right on paper in terms of the players you're recruiting, but it's just the inability for Everton to find any cohesion at all this season. And I agree with you, Adrian, that I think with Frank Lampard, and I think we're guilty of it too, is there a bit of joy in seeing him suffer a bit? I don't know if that's the kind of feeling towards Lampard. And I like WhatsApp groups last night, people were absolutely delighted at half-time that Everton were 2-0 down. The same WhatsApp group an hour later was like expletive-ridden sentiment towards Crystal Palace's inability to see the match out. I mean, it's the first time Everton have ever come from 2-0 down at half-time to win a Premier League match. And so Lampard does deserve credit, because when he came in, they were at an extremely low ebb, and he himself has had very low moments, like the 3-2 defeat away to Burnley at Turf Moor back in the start of April. And I remember we were talking about the following day, and we thought, well, that's it for Everton. They're going to go down. But he's rallied the troops. They beat Manchester United. They beat Chelsea. They won away to Leicester. Like, he's had good results with them.
They should have gotten something off the Manchester City game.
Exactly, the penalty that never happened, yeah.
And that was in the early Lampard throws. And it does feel like during the Lampard era as if they've had more of a chance in some of those bigger games against the bigger opposition, rather than a game like last night. Now, I know they did go on to actually win last night, and it was such a vital 3 points. But I'd love to know, like, where does this season rank for Everton fans? It'll certainly go down as one of the most memorable. And, like, that's what football is all about, like, about creating those sorts of memories. Like, if they're a team for me that are mid-table to 7th all the time, I know that's not a fact. 2003, 2004, they came close to getting relegated as well. But you do have to go back that far to find a similar level of threat for them, like parachuting out of the league. So for fans of a certain age, this will probably be one of the greatest moments as an Everton fan. I know they got to a cup final in 09 as well, but other than that, really there hasn't been anything to shout about, and that's been positive because they've managed to stay away from relegation trouble. But with all the negativity this season, they've allowed themselves to put themselves into a great escape position, and that's just an amazing feeling as a fan. It's like finishing fourth. It's like for Tottenham fans, they probably feel like they'll have a better season now than Chelsea fans will have had, even though Chelsea finished above them. It's like the sense of achievement of actually getting over the line and stumbling over the line. That's a pretty good feeling.
Do you know, I can't help but feel, I agree with all of that, and I can't help but feel when I saw the pitch invasion last night after the match, I was just thinking, Roy Keane won't like this. Like, it's like, what are you celebrating about? Look at this. Hold on. Look at the squad you have, and look how you've done this season.
That's
a remarkable underachievement.
There's a joylessness to that nonsense. Honestly, there was a time where I would have understood what you're talking about. We could see some of the scenes last night. I guarantee you, right, no matter what happens at the weekend, there will be no set of fans that will be as happy and celebrate as much as those fans last night. So let's not look at everything through the prism of you have to win. Like, that's bullshit.
It isn't though, right? No, it isn't though.
Come on.
No.
It harks back to a conversation the lads were having in the studio during the week. You can't say that, success is just for one team at the end of the season to win the league and that's it. There's a joylessness to that that you struggle to get out of bed for in the morning. I
agree. I didn't realise this would get you going so much. This is interesting because I was just thinking of the point of view that Everton really have nothing to celebrate other than the fact that it's massive relief.
Other than
you look at the celebrations last night, and out of context, you think, geez, if Everton won the league, have they won their first trophy since 1995? Many people would say they could sprint down to the dressing room and be like, geez, we got rid of that.
They have more reason to celebrate.
But celebrate suggests a massive success. Right?
That's
relief.
An incredible success.
It's relief.
You see, you're using that word to suggest you have to win a medal at the end of it. And
no, not necessarily. If they qualified for the Champions League this season, or even the Europa League, even the Conference League, second last day of the season, that's celebration.
They ain't rushing the pitch. They're not rushing the pitch like that if they qualify for the Champions League. Let's face it.
Why?
Have you ever seen a set of fans rush the pitch because their team qualified for the Champions League? It just doesn't happen.
I understand the fans rushing the pitch because of the relief and joy that they're still in the Premier League, and Everton, they're one of seven sides never to be relegated from the Premier League, I think. And haven't been relegated in decades, long time. So I understand the fans' joy. But, if you're the players and you're Frank Lampard, I saw him going up to the stands afterwards and hugging the good and the great of Everton past. And I'm thinking, OK, this is great. And he has done a really good job. But at the same time, lads, like the squad that you have and where you finish in the league, this is a massive underachievement.
The rushing of the pitch has nothing to do with any of those factors. The rushing of the pitch is an absolute
joy.
Outpour of celebration and success.
Relief.
Objective being, of course, but objective being surviving the Premier League for the season, objective achieved. That's success. There's no...
But that's not their remit. That was not their remit when Rafa Benitez took over to stay in the Premier League.
Your remit, what's the phrase about getting punched in the face? Your remit is grand until you get punched in the face.
Mike Tyson's line.
I think there would have been a pitch invasion had Everton qualified for a Champions League because it's Everton.
I agree.
And also it's Goodison Park, which is conducive to a pitch invasion. The reason why we don't see pitch invasions for Champions League qualification is because those stadiums that host Champions League teams you're not able to get onto the pitch. Like, you can't get onto the pitch at Anfield.
But there's also a sentiment, like, honestly, if depending on the circumstances, I give that caveat for sure, right? Because Liverpool maybe get ahead at some point and City are drawing and it looks like suddenly Liverpool are going to go in and the balance may go that way. But if everything goes as expected at the weekend, there won't be any pitch invasion about winning the Premier League. And regardless of, I take your point.
It's not because you literally can't. Is it not because like Goodison Park is actually? Is there anybody out there who can illuminate?
No, but I mean, I do take your point. It's obviously a dinosaur of a stadium and it's easy to get on
great
on
stadium
the pitch.
by all accounts.
But what I'm saying is, are we afraid of libeling? Are we libeling the stadium?
Well, all I've heard is good things about the place, to be honest.
No, that doesn't mean the dinosaurs were great. What I'm saying is, like, it was the sentiment at that moment that those players rushed on the pitch. Now, there was some stuff that went on at that game, obviously, in relation to Patrick Vieira afterwards, that was awful, and there was stuff that went on with the Nottingham Forest game the other day with Billy Sharp that was awful, and it's not to condone any of that stuff. But the sentiment, I believe that the sentiment that carried those like tens of thousands that we saw on the pitch onto the pitch last night would have been there, no matter if they were at like somewhere soulless like the Emirates Zone or some other high profile stadium.
Like what would your view of the the major sentiment and emotion of those fans being from the outside, did you assume that they're just absolutely thrilled with the job that Frank Lampard has done in the latter few weeks of the season, or would you like hypothesise that, well, it's just massive relief, an outpouring of joy?
That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's like.
It's not a celebration.
I don't think it's a celebration.
Will you stop? Jesus, do you?
I'm not. Hold on. I know what you're going to say. Oh, if
This
you
is
come
pure
first,
Roy
you come
Keane.
last.
I
It's
come
not.
from Cork, and I have to look at everything through the eyes of Roy Keane.
It's a celebration, Colin. Like,
That is nonsense.
Of course, it's a celebration. Like, it can be a celebration based in relief. Like if you want to get it, if you want to dig down into.
Well, that's what I mean.
Nobody's sitting there being like, "Ooh, Frank Lampard, is he better manager than Rafa?"
Do you think there's only one successful team in the Premier League every season?
Never said that.
But I'm asking you the question.
Obviously not. There's success in loads of different ways. Like, for instance, Brighton, I think, have had a very successful second half of the season when they struggled to score at home. And they've only won one home game in the second half of the season. And that's poor. But remember, Graham Potter was shaking his head at the fans around winter time about their booing of a 0-0 draw, I think, at home. And they turned around to have a really good season. I know their home form didn't end up being great. But anyway, I would say that's a successful season for Brighton. He has been playing great football. They comfortably avoided relegation, and they have a good away record. Loads of positives.
Of course,
that's a celebration. That's success. Nowhere near getting European football titles, domestic cups. That's success.
Are you? Did you just make the point there that Brighton have had a more successful season than Everton? Because that is obvious. Nobody needs to hear that. Like, I mean, that's like absolutely obvious.
Or 15 more teams have had a successful season than Everton.
Exactly. Trying to argue that Everton haven't had a very successcul season isn't an argument. Of course they haven't. They almost got relegated.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, that's not even a debate. What are we arguing about?
What we're arguing for is that we're arguing about the fact that Adrian said,
what
right?
What would I say? In his brain now, he's like, what would I say?
No, we're arguing about the fact that Adrian is like promoting this massive celebration of goodness, and I'm saying, well, it's a bit unfair on teams above Everton who have had a better than average season,
because
and
they haven't been able to celebrate.
They have no pitch
because
invasion,
they haven't been able to celebrate.
They have no pitch invasion. So
what are they going to do?
They're celebrating their own failure, basically.
Finish mid-table and rush the pitch on the final day. Come on. I'm nearly disappointed in you, Colin, I have to say.
No.
Fergus Keogh says Everton pitch invasion for avoiding relegation. Liverpool a bit disappointed at finishing a point behind City. Yeah, look, I don't know. Nigel Gallagher.
It's all relative. And
Nigel Gallagher saying here, I think the media in the UK give Lampard a lot of unwanted praise, which I find hard to take. Plus
unwanted or undeserved.
Unwarranted. I should point out. I actually, the point, to be fair, is probably more in relation to the Irish media.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
sorry, I should have said that.
Or else as a.
Yeah, I should have said that. Regarding Nigel's point, that is very true. He gets a nice gig from like the likes of BT Sport, where he's a former pundit. They'd be very pro Lampard, and I do think we often go the opposite way, or take joy in the fact that he's an underperformer as a manager. I
was going to ask both of you if you were pitch invaders, but like this lad is like sitting there ticking the box to go, should I celebrate this? Is this the point at which, I mean, I know everybody else around me is rushing.
I told you already that I totally understand every single one of those fans running onto the pitch. That's their club.
You're just questioning them. Did you?
I'm questioning the Lampard and players' sense of achievement this season, when really it's a massive underperformance for Everton as a football club.
Having said all that, you have rushed the pitch at a certain point.
I have Thomond Park. A Munster victory in 2002 in Europe, maybe quarter-final.
Right.
And it was I had a good time post-match, as I said to you earlier on in the kitchen.
What happened? Come on, tell them.
No, I was just I was embracing my fellow fans, running around the pitch, and then this young hoodlum was running against me opposite direction. Like, I'm looking at the camera here, so I'm seeing him here. There's like 5 yards away, and this guy's coming over, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to embrace with this stranger about a great Munster victory." Whips the hat off me, runs away. Never saw that beanie again. And I loved that beanie.
And I could imagine Colm like skulking back into the stands going, well, that has ruined my day.
So if anyone's
everything moot now for the day.
Anyone tuning in from Limerick this morning, circa 2002 Navy beanie.
A Munster
comment here, please.
Munster one?
No, it was an unbranded Navy beanie.
It's definitely going to be found.
I wonder where it is now.
Pitch
invasions happen all the time, though. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we just see it in football across the water. We're like, wow,
because it's so sanitised, you don't normally see it. Is that?
Yeah, like, I mean, there's pitch invasions on GA pitches every single week. Obviously, we don't see it in Croke Park anymore. But like, isn't
the halftime kids on the pitch?
No, I mean, at full time, like, players are mobbed by kids looking for autographs and people just.
I don't know if that's a pitch invasion much as no. Look, I don't want to sort of get on the same road as your man here, but there's an excitement for the kids to get on the pitch, as opposed to the team's just won, better get out there. Like there's a bit of the madness about them. It's not like a lot of adults sort of running the pitches. It's sort of a slightly different vibe to it.
Yeah.
But I take your point. It's not.
Yeah, I do. Like, I mean, maybe I do miss the pitch invasion in Croke Park, but then you do see things like the Billy Sharp situation and that absolute idiot going up to Patrick Vieira last night as well. And think to yourself, well, this is going to ruin everybody's fun. And I presume that was the reason why there is no pitch invasions in Croke Park, is just for the potential.
I think
for
it's an
something like
insurance
that to happen.
thing. There was a whole lot of insurance claims at some point or another. I rushed it in 2004.
Oh yeah,
after
what a moment!
Infamous, after ourselves and Kerry combined to take over the world.
Yeah.
And there was nobody, like it was Plan B mode at that point. Plan B, you remember
what game was Plan B again? Because I was on the pitch for 09 after Kerry won the All-Ireland.
It was a policy at that time that once Plan A went to shit, it was like, right, we can't hold them.
There was one very famous moment though where Plan B was like the first one. I think, I can't remember if I was in the stadium or watching it at home, but there was one where that there was definitely the beginning of Plan B, and then they just managed to get a grip on it. They obviously put up better security on all the stands to have the netting on the front few rows and all that.
Better quality of steward, is what you're saying. It's like,
well,
back 80,000 people.
That was an unforgiving job, wasn't it? Without the barriers to actually try and hold off thousands of Tyrone fans or Armagh fans and try and keep them at bay. Obviously, the Kerry fans would have been very polite. And you're telling us to stay in the stand? No problem. We will sit down here.
Right. That moment of like mad, joyous chaos when you're on the pitch, you've lost the people you've come with, but you're hugging strangers and you're like looking for players, and it's like that for me was probably the highlight of anything I've ever been at. And like there was just no sense that anybody was going to. There was people who were creeping down the stairs as we were approaching sort of full time. You're creeping down the stairs to get your position. You told a story before as well about, was it Croke Park?
Yeah, well, like Croke Park 2009, the last time I remember invading a pitch, and like when you talk about like the technical phrase of your pitch invasion, after Kerry had beaten Cork handily again in an All-Ireland football final. I think I'd contracted swine flu that morning, so I was kind of like running onto the pitch in like a haze, dizzy, and I don't think I even stayed for the trophy presentation. I was like, I just gotta get out of here. I feel like I'm going to die.
I
missed all the
must
celebrations.
get on the pitch.
Yeah, I missed all the celebrations that week as well because I was bedbound for a week.
Wow.
Terrible.
A few comments coming in. Well said, Colm, says Colm's mother.
Yeah, well said,
says Colm's mother here. Says Alan.
Alan, my mother.
Jesus Colm, whatever. Edward, Colm has some killjoy. Why is someone with no idea about why do we don't?
Hold on a minute. Let me read out the comments. Comments. Flying Hellfish. Jesus Colm, outwitted by the man who voted to have the monorail in Athlone.
Did it? Here, come on, look at your running order there. Come on.
Are you dipping into this?
Colm is some killjoy. Why is someone with no idea about sport on a sports show? Everton fans were 100% right to celebrate last night. The club have an entire off-season to review the season. Nice one for including this, says Colm. Robert says, no Gilroy, ... We all know how that concludes. And Damo says, Everton achieved 0 of their objectives for the season. That's definition of unsuccessful. Doesn't mean they can't celebrate avoiding disaster. And I think that is nail on the head stuff.
What are you pointing at me to do? To come
read the running order, please.
Talk to you about tennis.
Yeah. Well, we need to go. We have Kathleen McNamee waiting.
Right. Well, will we wait for the tennis for later on then, or do you want to?
No, we'll do it now quickly.
Go on. The producer has vetoed everything else. Go on. What's French Open draw?
The French Open draw happened yesterday. Tournament starts on Sunday. It's very briefly on the men's side, very interesting. Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz have all been drawn on the same side of the draw, which means that we could get a Nadal versus Djokovic quarter-final. Quite early. And Alcaraz, if he beats Alexander Zverev in the quarter-final, would meet either Nadal or Djokovic in the semi-final. It means that Stefanos Tsitsipas, the Greek who reached the final last year, who actually won the first 2 sets against Djokovic in that final, he should get to a second consecutive final because he's on the other side of the draw, which is very winnable for him. His biggest threat there would be Daniil Medvedev, who's the world number 2. But is not a great clay court player. So Tsitsipas should get to the final, and then it's 1 of 3 between Nadal, Djokovic and Alcaraz on the other side of the draw. So we could get a blockbuster quarter-final there, Nadal, Djokovic. Only thing with Nadal is struggling badly with his ankle. Djokovic won the Italian Open last week. He would be my odds-on favourite to win this tournament. Carlos Alcaraz, on current form, is the best player in the world. He beat Nadal and Djokovic back-to-back a couple of weeks ago, but best of 5 sets is a different story altogether. Those are best of 3 set matches. So a lot to look forward to on the men's side. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek's world number 1. She's won her last 5 tournaments in a row. She's also the 2020 French Open champion, where she beat Sophia Kenin in that showdown. It's the clear favourite here to win this whole tournament. The only way she won't is if she gets injured. And in terms of an interesting first round draw, you have Naomi Osaka, of course, the great Osaka, who's won 4 Grand Slams already, 2 Australian Opens, 2 US Opens. She's playing Amanda Anisimova. In the first round, those two met at the Australian Open earlier this year, where Osaka lost that match in a titanic 3-set battle. She lost in a 3rd set tiebreak. Of course, the French Open last year is where Osaka pulled out after her first round victory, citing her mental health exhaustion. So she's back now to play the French Open. She's never gone beyond the 3rd round, but that would be a great first round tie.
Well, I, for one, look forward to the tennis updates over the next, how many weeks?
2 weeks, starting Sunday.
Yeah, really looking forward to that, Colm, as you know.
I can sense it in your voice.